Net neutrality. I'm sure you're all very familiar with what that is since you're using the internet now. I'm assuming this probably isn't your first rodeo on the World Wide Web, so I'm confident you're familiar with net neutrality. I don't need to go into detail about what net neutrality is or why it's important, so why am I talking about it? Well, it's because, per usual, it's being threatened right now. It's like fucking Princess Peach and the FCC is Bowser, and they keep taking it hostage from us, and we keep trying to get it back. It's a nice little cat and mouse game we have going on here. Net neutrality is basically the internet's declaration of independence, and the head of the FCC, Ajit Pai, is Nicolas Cage stealing it from us. Throughout 2017, the FCC has had its sights set on dismantling net neutrality, and now within a month it looks like they will succeed in completely dismantling net neutrality as it currently is. And not a whole lot of people on the YouTube platform are talking about this, probably because they've talked about it millions of times in the past and they don't want to keep bringing up the same subject, but I've never talked about it. I've always stood by and waited for somebody else to bring attention to it and get people informed. This time, however, I'm throwing my asshole out there and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Within a month, it seems the FCC will succeed here. The head chairman of the FCC, Ajit Pai, has really been doing a great job in making moves to get net neutrality dissolved. However, unfortunately for head chairman Ajit Pai, his moves and attempts to get a chin and jawline have ended in complete and utter failure. There's really just no telling where the neck stops and the face begins. Now, what's interesting about his approach to getting rid of net neutrality is the way he's going about it would make it nearly impossible for net neutrality to ever come back. So once it's gone in December, it would never come back, which is nothing shy of just downright evil. Right now, the trendy thing that most people on YouTube and most media outlets are focusing on is the loot boxes in EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2, which, don't get me wrong, is definitely an issue that needs to be talked about. I talked about that as well. But if even half the attention that got was focused on net neutrality here, we wouldn't even need to be worrying about it going away within a month here. And there's really a lot of crossover between net neutrality going away and EA's loot boxes. They're quite similar. If net neutrality goes away and the proposed changes take effect, you'll basically be buying loot boxes from your ISP. The internet will have its own loot boxes where you pay more for certain websites, and you'd be buying packages that come with a random assortment of websites. Oh shit, another common, AOL again. Oh finally, I rolled an epic, I get YouTube this time around. Hell yeah. And obviously there's a lot more to net neutrality going away than just having to pay more for certain websites. There's a lot of bad shit that comes with net neutrality going away that I don't need to go into because I'm sure you're familiar with it because it's been talked about so many times before. But what hasn't been talked about a ton of times before is my slightly above average size penis. What also hasn't been talked about a ton of times before is exactly what you can do to combat FCC getting rid of net neutrality. Pretty much do exactly what was done to EA recently. Put the whole fist in their fuck and let them know that this will not go over well. The amount of public outrage given to EA had them backpedaling so hard they were damn near offering lollipops to each person who bought a copy of their game. If that same level of attention was given to the FCC here, where you have very vocal public outrage, you have people that are actually getting active now and reaching out and saying, hey, I won't stand for this. In the EA's case, people calling and asking for a refund. In this scenario, you'd be calling and saying, nope, don't vote for this, this is some bullshit. Then maybe we'd see some backpedaling from the FCC as well. Obviously, it's not guaranteed to work. Obviously, I don't think this video is going to have much of an effect on people getting active and getting angry and vocal about the FCC dissolving net neutrality. And when I say angry, I don't mean sending death threats or making ridiculous, laughably bad tweets that make you seem like some comical, cartoony supervillain. I'll burn the FCC down and take a poopy on the ashes. I'm talking about level-headed, actual action that'll have an effect, calling representatives, getting people aware of what net neutrality is for those who may not know, and just letting people know that this is coming up within a month and something needs to be done. There needs to be some type of movement to make a stand for net neutrality for the 100th time. And everything I've said here is really nothing new, but since no one's really talking about net neutrality, despite it being so close to going away, I figured I might as well at least try and at least get the word out. Maybe a lot of people don't know how close net neutrality is to being just completely gone, a thing of the past. So I figured I might as well at least try and inform some people. So that's it. So yeah.
Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today, the first thing we have to talk about today is the FCC and net neutrality. If you've watched the show for a while, you know we've talked about this a lot over the past few years. And it's important we talk about it again today because net neutrality is once again under attack. And just a brief refresher on net neutrality, the idea behind net neutrality is you have a free, fair, open internet. You have a level playing field. It keeps the internet service providers from being able to influence what people do online. In 2015, the FCC labeled broadband internet a Title II, which made it a utility. And this meant that legislation could stop ISPs from throttling, creating paid fast lanes, any other control over broadband speeds. The worry here was that these ISPs would favor certain websites or services, and if you went to any others, they would throttle broadband speeds. We're already kind of seeing this pop up with wireless data, but it's always being touted as an incentive. A certain cell service says, hey, if you go with us when you watch Netflix, that doesn't go towards your data cap. Or maybe it's with Hulu or whoever. Now imagine your broadband internet right in your home. All of a sudden you have Comcast. They say, hey, guess what? When you use Hulu, you get the top tier, the premium speed. And they have an incentive. They own a good percentage of Hulu. But then guess what? Netflix, Amazon Prime, those places don't get our fast lane for the internet. It's slower, it's clunkier. Maybe if Netflix or Amazon Prime, they pay us, we'll give them the fast lane. You gotta pay a tax if you wanna go over our fast lane bridge. Imagine if Comcast or another ISP launched a competitor to YouTube and then they could just slow down the speeds to YouTube for their customers. To which you could argue, and the chairman of the FCC now does, well, hey, if an ISP is going to do that, the market will decide we don't want Comcast. The market will keep companies honest and fair, and no. You know how many people have Comcast and they don't want Comcast, but they have to have Comcast because there aren't really any other options? And the same goes for several other ISPs. The number of options for internet providers in your area are pitiful. The United States is so far behind so many other countries. The consumers can't decide where a market goes when the market is that limited. When people have the option of Comcast, ATT Uverse, or just not having the internet, that's not really a great situation. But back to the story. In May, Ajit Pai, the chairman of the FCC, releases a notice of proposed rulemaking, and that proposes overturning the 2015 decision. Now, as a part of this, there was a public comment period where they received 22 million comments. And you might remember Last Week Tonight did that push, go FCCyourself.com, made it really easy for people to say they didn't want these new rule changes, they wanted net neutrality. And as part of this battle for net neutrality, we saw a lot of spam in that, but one study said they found 98.5% of the unique comments were against Pai's proposal. They were for net neutrality. But still, despite all of that, it now appears the FCC is still moving forward. In a press release this morning, Pai said, under my proposal, the federal government will stop micromanaging the internet. Instead, the FCC would simply require internet service providers to be transparent about their practices so that consumers can buy the service plan that's best for them, and entrepreneurs and other small businesses can have the technical information they need to innovate. And they titled it Restoring Internet Freedom Order. Pai's statement then said the text of the plan will be released 3 weeks before the vote on December 14th. The official FCC Twitter says that it will be released tomorrow. And reportedly, sources close to the plan say that it will return broadband internet to Title I as opposed to Title II. And so if that's correct, the move would end the rules that stop internet service providers from blocking, slowing broadband speeds, creating paid fast lanes. The plan would also allow ISPs to choose for themselves whether or not to throttle or create fast lanes. But as mentioned before, there would be a transparency rule included in the plan. This would require service providers to inform their customers on their practice of blocking or throttling. This plan would also get rid of the general conduct standard, which was created in 2015 to allow the FCC to regulate the behavior of ISPs. Instead, the power of policing the ISPs would go to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And while the FTC cannot stop ISPs from throttling, they can hold them to whatever decision they announce on it. Now, stemming from this, we saw Verizon release a statement. They said, we're very encouraged by Chairman Pai's announcement today that the FCC will move forward next month to restore the successful light touch regulatory framework for internet services. But on the other side, Google issued a statement saying the FCC's net neutrality rules are working well for consumers and we're disappointed in the proposal released today. And we also saw the acting chairman of the FTC release a statement saying the FTC stands ready to protect broadband subscribers from anti-competitive, unfair, or deceptive acts and practices just as we protect consumers and the rest of the internet ecosystem. And ultimately where we are right now is it looks like net neutrality is going to die. On December 14th, it is very much believed that in a 3-2 vote, Pai's proposal will pass, and then the already too powerful will have even more power. It is truly insane to me that this is going to happen. The market has power when there are choices, and there are just not enough choices. There are some places where people literally only have one option, and now the FCC is going to make it so that those guys can charge tolls for other companies, and which is, hey, great for them. They get to maximize sources of revenue in new, exciting ways. All the meanwhile stifling new independent innovation, icing out any new company, new service that doesn't want to partner up with them. And as someone who in general doesn't want the government in all the different aspects of my life, there are certain places like this one where it is important that there are regulations and there are ways to keep people safe. The fact that a person and people in power do not see how this is predatory in nature for consumers, for everyday people, is ridiculous. This is a dark day for innovation. This is a dark day for small business. It is a dark day for consumers. And trust me when I say this, the initial bad from this will start out as a trickle, but the true bad is coming. But if there is a last chance for hope here, it is Congress and you watching right now, calling your congressperson and demanding they do the right thing here. And to make it super easy, you can just go to battleforthenet.com. There, just put in your phone number, hit call. They'll connect you to your congressperson or their office. They'll also provide an easy to read script. If Battle for the Net is slammed with high call volume, you can also go to callmycongress.com. You just enter your address, you get your representative's information, call and ask for them to do the right thing. They are supposed to be representing you and your interests and your needs, and not just that of a large company that maybe gives them money. But from that, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by thefrancogrip.com. I've mentioned the D-Brain Grip before, and they are still in their crowdfunding campaign. I've got one on this phone, and it is truly as grippy as they say, which is incredibly important in my life. Life presents a lot of drop opportunities when you're a dad. But that said, if you've heard this before, but you missed out because all the perks sold out in the first 6 hours of my first mention, D-Brain has since launched another exclusive super secret perk just for you beautiful bastards. So if you want to snag one, be sure to just go to thefrancogrip.com. You'll get 50% off the retail price, and if you're in North America, you will get free shipping. And the first bit of awesome, every now and then I like to do these recommendations for movies or TV series. And the one I'm recommending today, if you have Netflix, I highly recommend you watch Jim and Andy, The Great Beyond. It goes through with Jim Carrey now, and there's never before seen footage of when Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman. And I'm only halfway through right now, and it is one of the most bizarre things to watch. It's weird, it's twisted, it's fascinating. I highly recommend it, or if that doesn't sound your speed, and you still somehow haven't watched the Train to Busan or Tunnel, get on that. Then we got possibly the only redeeming thing about the Emoji Movie. We got the honest trailer for it. Also, don't tell Jax Films this, but the Emoji Movie was fucking garbage. Then, thanks to Wired, the Stranger Things cast answered the web's most searched questions. Then, if you're just in the need for some dumb fun, thanks to Japanese television, we have a show called Slippery Stairs, which is exactly what it says it is. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about longtime broadcaster Charlie Rose in the news, and the reason for that is yesterday the Washington Post published a piece detailing misconduct between Charlie Rose and 8 women. According to the Post, Rose made unwanted sexual advances toward them, including lewd phone calls, walking around naked in their presence, or groping their breasts, buttocks, or genital areas. Rose's accusers either worked with or aspired to work with him on his PBS show Charlie Rose from the late 1990s to 2011. At the times of these alleged incidents, the women's ages ranged between 21 to 37. While 3 of the accusers gave their names, 5 asked to remain anonymous. One of the accusers, Rhea Bravo, who in 2007 was a 29-year-old graduate student, she said several months into her internship with Rose, he offered her a side gig at his home in Bellport. She said that while working with him, he repeatedly groped her, sometimes forcefully. One of the most troubling accusations was from an unnamed woman who said she was applying for a job, said Rose invited her to his home. She said after sitting by the pool, he said he needed change after getting his pants wet. She says he returned wearing an open bathrobe with nothing underneath. She then says Rose tries to put his hand down her pants, saying she was scared, she was frozen, she pushed his hands away. She said she was crying the entire time, to which she says Rose said, quote, "Baby, oh baby, why are you crying?" And as far as why the women said they never reported these incidents, there were various reasons. Some, it was because of fear of the power he had over their careers. Some mentioned his volatile temper. Some mentioned just being embarrassed, ashamed, or not really knowing who to turn to. According to Amy Britton, one of the journalists who reported on this piece, he has such power over the show, he owns the show. There is no human resources department in the Charlie Rose show. Many of these women said that even if they wanted to file an official complaint, they wouldn't even know who to go to. And actually, 2 of the women said they made longtime executive producer Yvette Vega aware of Rose's inappropriate behavior. One saying they were told that's just Charlie being Charlie. And in a statement to the Post, Vega said, quote, "I should have stood up for them. I failed. It is crushing. I deeply regret not helping them." Also, after this article, the Washington Post said that more than a dozen women had reached out to them to share their stories as well. Also, after the Washington Post article, 3 women shared their story with Business Insider. These stories stemming from 2005, 2008, 2010. One of those involving unwanted touching. The New York Times spoke with 2 women who said that Charlie Rose tried to kiss them without their permission. Charlie Rose then released a statement to these allegations. In my 45 years in journalism, I've prided myself on being an advocate for the careers of the women with whom I have worked. Nevertheless, in the past few days, claims have been made about my behavior towards some former female colleagues. It is essential that these women know I hear them and that I deeply apologize for my inappropriate behavior. I am greatly embarrassed. I have behaved insensitively at times, and I accept responsibility for that, though I do not believe all of these allegations are accurate. I always felt that I was pursuing shared feelings, even though I now realize I was mistaken. I have learned a great great deal as a result of these events, and I hope others will too. All of us, including me, are coming to a newer and deeper recognition of the pain caused by conduct in the past, and have come to a profound new respect for women and their lives. And to that, I just have to give my response to that. Charlie, you're 75. It's already a little bit of a stretch to call someone who's 20 to 30, a kid. But people are still somewhat forgiving and open to second chances for people under 30 because, you don't know who you are at that time. You're 75 saying that all of a sudden now is when you have a new respect for women and their lives. Also, if the allegation that you tried to jam your hand down some girl who is trying to get a job's pants and she's crying while that's happening, I don't know if there is a bigger stop sign. If you put your hand down someone's pants and their reaction seems to be crying, it doesn't seem reasonable to describe that situation as pursuing shared feelings. Also, it's incredibly important for people in positions of power to realize that if they try and do something with someone that's trying to get a job, someone that works for them, someone they are potentially the gatekeeper for in their industry, you're not on the same level. That relationship is or is primed to get very, very abusive. And it's incredibly important that people in those positions know that now. It's especially important for all the new people jumping into positions of power to realize that as well. It doesn't make it right. It is one thing to mess up when you're younger, but if there's something that we can all get from this, hopefully it is education. But back to the story. Hours after the accusation, Charlie Rose was suspended. CBS News PR releasing the statement, Charlie Rose is suspended immediately while we look into this matter. These allegations are extremely disturbing and we take them very seriously. And then we learned this morning that Charlie Rose was fired. And the president of CBS News, David Rhodes, announced this in an email to staff, saying a short time ago, we terminated Charlie Rose's employment with CBS News effective immediately. This followed the revelation yesterday of extremely disturbing and intolerable behavior said to have revolved around his PBS program. Despite Charlie's important journalistic contribution to our news division, there is absolutely nothing more important in this or any organization than ensuring a safe professional workplace. Also, last second update, PBS has also released a statement saying in light of yesterday's revelations, PBS has terminated its relationship with Charlie Rose and canceled distribution of his programs. And that's where we are with this story right now. And where I want to leave this is once again doubling down on this being a teachable moment, because while this may seem like common sense to you, it's not common sense to everyone. And the reason I say that is there are many people who have a different opinion on what sexual harassment is. There was a really interesting report in The Economist last week, and inside there was a chart based on polling based on location, age, gender, of what constitutes sexual harassment. The orange lines are women, the blue lines are men. The percentages represent respondents stating always or usually to the question, would you consider it sexual harassment if a man who is not a romantic partner did the following to a woman? And the results were really interesting. For the sake of time, I'm just going to stick to the results from the United States. And here are the results for each situation. Requesting a sexual favor, making sexual jokes, placing hand on lower back, looking at breasts, wolf whistling, commenting on attractiveness, asking to go for a drink. And what we see from that is there is no clear consensus. Other than on requesting a sexual favor or making a sexual joke, pretty much everything else is a downward slope. And what I want to do is kind of pass this poll on to you. What is your takeaway from it? Obviously, in cases where you have allegations against Charlie Rose that he was putting hands on women, he was putting his hands on thighs of women that worked for him, trying to put his hand down the pants of a woman that was trying to get a job from him. That's obvious. But where I've been seeing the biggest amount of debate is specifically on the commenting on attractiveness part. Between 25 to 50% of the youngest surveyed were saying that commenting on someone's attractiveness is sexual harassment. Obviously, this polling would benefit from more context, right? The commenting on attractiveness, is that saying you look beautiful in that dress, or is it nice ass? One of those seems far more obvious, but to some, both may be included. And it also makes me think of a joke that we see pop up in comedy, a lot of stand-up in various iterations. And that's that in some cases, the difference between sexual harassment and a successful interaction with a woman is salesmanship and attractiveness. The idea that a woman's going to have a different reaction to Idris Elba or Ryan Gosling saying something than if I said something, then the kind of weird guy at your job says something. Once again, I'm not saying what's right or wrong, I want to throw that out there, and I'd love to know your thoughts on this. And that's actually where I'm going to end today's show. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, you want to support independent media, go to DeFrancoElite.com, sign up, become a member. Also, if you missed yesterday's Philip DeFranco show, you want to catch up, click or tap right there to watch that. Or if you want to see the newest behind the scenes vlog, click or tap right there to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Guys, very important message today. Net neutrality is threatened by the FCC, and they're going to be voting on it by December 14th. And the internet, as we know, will be forever fucked. If you don't know, net neutrality right now requires to give everyone equal access. You, me, your family, your friends, your dog, equal access to everything on the internet. That means that Verizon, Spectrum, Charter, AT&T, Comcast, and so on can't charge you for using specific websites. What they want to do by December 14th when they vote on it is what you see here. The FCC is moving to end net neutrality right now and will give big cable companies the ability to charge you for using email, give you video packages, make you pay for banking even, listening to music, package, $5, $10 right there, Discord and Skype, another $5, $10 right there, and make you even pay $5 for news packages, things that you would expect on the open free internet. They want to make fast lanes and slow lanes depending on what packages you've paid for or haven't paid for. Basically, the internet will be screwed. By the way, they can even charge you $5 or $10 a month or whatever price they want for you even using YouTube. This also implies that these companies will have to barter to Verizon or AT&T, and that will drive up their own prices, which means that YouTube could potentially make us charge another price on top of that, as well as Netflix prices going up and every company you can imagine, even eBay subscriptions too. But also smaller sites and small companies will have no chance to grow, and they will be at the complete mercy of these ISPs not making their sites go down to a complete crawl, if even accessible at all. This isn't just about prices going up, by the way, guys. If someone makes a website exposing these companies or their affiliates, or some political stance that these ISPs don't agree with, potentially exposing crimes or going against their agenda, they can just block that site from you even accessing it at all. Whatever site they think you should be able to see or not see, they can change that by December 14th. Which means we are fucked if we don't do anything. You see this piece of shit? This piece of shit is hoping that you just idly stand by until December 14th, until it's too late. Once these things are decided, shit falls apart and could take years to reverse, if ever. I've left several links down below, many different things you can do to help, but signing the change.org is a great way to start helping. It will only take a moment, and you can use Facebook to log in to sign in even faster. And I know it may seem like you're just one person, but seriously guys, if everyone that said that would help, that would be millions of people. Yes, even you watching this, we can save the open internet and we won't have to deal with all this bullshit. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or independent or none of those. It really doesn't matter. This will screw all of us and the open free internet as we know it, as well as many YouTubers, including probably this channel too. This will shatter innovation, artists, startup companies, freedom of speech online, and give even more monopolies to the top 1% on the internet now, and basically create a really shitty internet experience. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to share this video to your friends. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.